Hi, I'm Aiman, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to install a ceiling fan in the event that you already have an old one installed and you just want to replace it, because you want to have that box up there and the wires. I wish we could show you how to remove the ceiling fan, but as you can see, we already did that, and we're kind of already rushing. First off, let me show you the components that we already removed for the fan. First, there is the housing for the lights under the fan. Then there's the motor. The housing for the motor goes on like that. And the mounting bracket that the motor sticks to, and it keeps it up there. And finally, the fan blades. Alright, important precaution when you're doing this kind of work is make sure that the power is off. Don't just turn off the switch. Make sure that the breaker is flipped. Because in our case, even if we turn off the switch, it only controls the lights. So that means we have to turn off the breaker so that the fan, which is independent, doesn't turn on. So we have this tool right here that beeps red if there is current. You can see that when we touch it to all three of these wires, that it doesn't turn red. Right here we have the fan, the new fan that we got. Obviously, you have to make sure that you get the right fan. Make sure it actually fits in the room. So right now we're just going to unpack this and see how we're going to fit it into the room over there. So first we have the fan blades. I think there are 5 of them. We have the mounting bracket. This looks pretty similar to the one that we have. Then, of course, there are the instruction manuals. Make sure that you have these. It's very important. Let's see. Oh, there's also the light bulbs. I'm not sure that's important right now. The housing for the lights. This one only has 2 instead of the 4 that we have. Oh, okay, goes on like that. Then there is. These look like what attach the fan blades to the housing. They look like spoons. These seem to be the screws, which you'll see. Oh, and the string. I forgot what it's called. The chain. Let's see if there's anything below this. There we go. It's there. Below this is the motor and its motor housing. Take that out. Oh. And just put this over here. So as you can see, the motor housing is separate from the motor itself. And finally, we have the cover for the lights. Okay, let's look at that instruction manual and see if there's anything special we have to look at. Alright, so I'm going to read this instruction manual to make sure that everything is going to be okay before I install it. But because I already removed it, it should seem like it should be straightforward. So first, we're going to install the mounting bracket. Now, you want to take the screws that came with the original mounting bracket. So they should be long screws like this. And you want to look for the 2 holes on the junction or outlet box. So there's one here and one here. You just want to sort of align it with the holes that are on the mounting bracket. So now, let me try that. Make sure this is facing upside down. Loop those wires through the middle. Now we're going to look for the holes. Alright, so you sort of want to put one in, only partially of the way. Then you want to put the other one partially in. This is easier done as a 2-man job, so that you can have one person holding the bracket while you try to push the screw in. Or I mean, holding the light while you try to locate it. I found the hole. It's just a matter of getting the screw in. When you're screwing in the mounting bracket, make sure that you tighten these 2 screws really tight. Make sure you don't strip them, because it's only these 2 screws that are holding up the entire assembly. Just want to let you know. After that, you want to take off these 4 washers. Make sure nuts. Make sure you don't lose the washers. So, oh, and then after that, what you're going to do is you're going to put on the motor. Make sure that you put it on this big hole to this hook right here. So you want to put it on sort of like this. You want to swing it in. So first you want to take off the bolts. And I guess we could speed this up. If I wasn't clear earlier, that J hook up there is actually to make the work easier, or that you can do it yourself, because what you can do with that hook is you can mount it on there using the hole. Okay, so that you can actually hook the wires together. Now let's talk about connecting the wires. So let me just carefully place this down. And according to your instruction manual, it should tell you what kind of connections you want. There are different connections such as there's where your fan and light are controlled by the pull chains of the fan, one where the light is controlled by the wall switch, and an assembly or the connections where both of them are controlled by wall switches. And usually this should depend on what wires are already up here, because as you can see on this diagram, the wires for each diagram are different. This one has its own wire for a wall switch, and this one has its own wire for the for a different wall switch. So you can see that this different striped wire is not present on these two diagrams. So on ours, we have it where the fan is controlled by the pull chain and the light is controlled by the wall switch. So as you can see on the motor, the white is the, give me a second, let me just face this around. The white is the neutral, the black is the motor, and the blue is the light. That corresponds to the wires up here. This one we'll set aside for now. The black one is the live or the motor. The white one is the neutral. And the red one is the light. This one's for ground. So now we're just going to connect it, and in the box they should give you the wall connectors that sort of look like, the wire connectors that sort of look like this, because you're going to need these. Like I said before, the next step is to connect the wires according to the diagram. For this step, I really wish we had Azami here, because he's supposed to be the electrical engineer of our family, but I suppose that I have to pick up some other disciplines in engineering this time. So for this, you want to make sure that your wire is able to connect to the other wire. If this metal part that's sticking out isn't long enough, you can always shave off a bit of the rubber to make sure that it's long enough. And what you want to do is you want to take the corresponding wire and you want to sort of wrap it around. I'm gonna make sure that you guys can see. Like I said before, make sure that the breaker's off so you don't get shocked by this. And once it's wrapped around, let me just make sure you wrap that around real nice. You want to make sure that the wires at the end, they are connected. And you want to take the wire connector, you want to screw it on to make sure it's secure. So let me just put this light down. Hopefully you'll be able to see it when I do it. And let me just look at this looks like it goes in clockwise. Make sure that it goes into the hole. And once you do it, it should catch on for you. After this, according to the booklet, you want to wrap it around it with some... According to the booklet, you want to wrap around it with some electrical tape to make sure that there's no exposed wires. Is this electrical tape? Okay. So this is our electrical tape. And what we're going to do is we're going to sort of wrap around it. This is not required, but it's for safety precaution. Alright, so continue connecting the wires according to the diagram. For us, we actually took a picture. The blue goes to the red. When we took the picture, it actually said 4 light on the blue wire. So just connect those two, and of course the black goes to the black. While you're doing this, make sure that you keep the, what's it called? The silver, actually, I'll show it later. But now we're just going to finish this up and do it off camera so we don't waste any time. Alright, so as you can see up here, we have all 4 wires connected. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now the next step is to screw this assembly onto the bracket. Now when you screw the assembly on, make sure that these silver rings here, these metal rings, are in. They might fall out during the assembly. You make sure that they don't fall out. And when you put them on, make sure that the small hole, this small hole is not on the side that the J-hook is on. So when you put this up, there should be enough space in between the bracket and the assembly that the wires can fit in between. So first you want to hook it onto the J-hook. And then you should be able to take your, wait, let me just put this onto the J-hook. And that's why they have the J-hook, so you can put it there while you get your mounts, your washers and your nuts. So you need 4 washers and 4 nuts. Put the washers first and then the nuts, and then you can put them on. So put one on each corner, make sure that your silver rings are in. I forget what they call that. Okay. This is going to be a bit hard. Oh, other one. Okay. Make sure you don't strip the screws, the bolts. Make sure they're put on exactly straight. But by the time you put them on, they should be aligned correctly, so it shouldn't strip. As you can see, we have one of them on. We can, well, it doesn't have to be tight just yet, because we have to put all of the other 4 on. Put one on the other side. Okay. Then the other 2. It should be fairly simple. Alright, so a good thing about this new one is that we can actually fit the socket wrench under and tighten it, which we couldn't do with the old motor. So let me just tighten this right now. You should tighten it until it basically stops you from tightening it any further. You don't want to over tighten it or else you'll strip the bolt. Next step is putting on the motor housing. Now putting on the motor housing is pretty intuitive. At the top you can see there are 4 screw holes, 1 here, 2 here, and 2 on the bottom. But one of these has a sort of ridge here, a cutout. So what you want to do is you want to look for the hole that has a cutout. In this case it's the left hole. And you want to partially loosen the left hole on each side. So the left screw on each side. So this one and this one on my left, but on your right. And then you want to completely take out the screw on the right. So this one. So now I'm going to take out those 2 screws and then partially loosen the other 2. Oh, let me face this upwards so you can see. Okay, there's also a washer. You want to make sure that when you take it out, you don't drop that washer. I'm going to take it out as far as I can and then try to take it. Oh, okay, there we go. So that's what it looks like for us. It might look different for you, but that's what we have. So put this somewhere that you know it won't get lost. Put that in there. Partially loosen the left one. This only has to be loosened enough so that you can fit the motor housing under it. But that stuff will come later. Okay, gotta make sure I collect this one. And then after that, you probably do it by hand to make sure that you don't lose the washer. The washer makes it a bit hard to take out by hand. I really want to make sure I don't lose this washer. Okay, there we go. That's what we have. And then this other one. Okay, that's partially loosened. Just make sure it's just enough for the motor housing. And according to the instruction manual, It should be pretty self-explanatory, but just making sure there's nothing that I have to look at before. Okay, so now we gotta look for the holes, and then we have to slide them in. So let me see if the washer goes inside or outside of the housing, but it should go outside. Okay. All right. The washers go outside. Okay, let me get this other one. And after you put it in, you should be able to rotate it. These washers are being a bit tricky. Okay. And you should be able to rotate it. Of course, the next step is to tighten the screws up here. And we have to say that putting on these screws for us personally is probably the hardest part of installing this fan. So if you do plan on installing a fan, try to get a magnetic screwdriver on hand. Unfortunately, we didn't have one, so that's why it was so tricky for us. The next step, according to the instruction manual, is to put on the blade screws. The blades. The blades themselves are easy to assemble. You want to take one blade arm, like I said, looks like a spoon. And you want to take 3 of the screws that they give you in the kit, and 3 of the washers. And one final thing about these blades is that according to the box, it says the blades are reversible. So in our case, you can choose what color you want the fan to be, either light or dark. And whatever color you want, you put it facing away from you put it facing the bottom. So this is the orientation it would look like if we wanted the light to be seen from the bottom. And what you want to do, so you take the blade arm, you take the blade, you put the blade in the blade arm by aligning these 3 holes. You should see that it should align, at least for this brand. I'm not sure what kind of fan you're using. Then you want to take the 3 screws. You want to take the washer first and put them in. Let me tighten it a lot. It doesn't matter because the other 3 holes are already aligned. And then after that, you want to tighten all 3, starting with the middle, according to the instructions. Now we're going to tighten it, and then after we tighten it, starting with the middle, we should be done. And just to reiterate, the color that is on the face of this spoon shape should be the color that you see from the bottom. Of course, you're not going to see this top, so that means you shouldn't see the darker side. So let me just tighten these, and then I should do the other 4. As you can see here, we have all 5 of the fan blades completed. The next step is to put these fan blades on. Now, if we look at the motor, you can see that the screws are actually already there. So what we're going to do is that one by one, we're going to take off these screws and install each fan, resecure the screws, and then move on to the next set of screws. So first, I'm going to do it from my side. Oh, by the way, this moves while you're doing it, so just wanted to let you know that. So you probably have to hold this down while you're unscrewing it, or you definitely have to hold it down while you're unscrewing it. And then screw it out by hand. It looks like these have washers on them too. Let me just take this out so you can see. It does indeed have washers on them. Make sure you don't lose them. Keep them in a safe place. Take the other one out. Alright, now we're going to put the fan blades on. When you unscrew the screws, make sure you don't do the ones that are adjacent to each other. Do the ones that are far apart from each other. And you're going to see that when you put this on, it does line up. So first, we're going to put on one screw. It's going to be a bit hard for me to see, but hopefully I should put this through. Put that on. It's a bit dark here. Forgive me if it takes a while. And at this point, I'm going to take my screwdriver and just somewhat tighten it in, but not fully, just so I can get it in. Okay. So I think it's secure enough that I can put the other one on. And this takes a lot of finagling, guys, so just be patient and eventually it'll all work out. Oop. Okay, there we go. Did I say that the fan housing, the motor housing was the hardest part? This might be one of the harder, difficult parts. Okay, let me get my screwdriver, tighten that. That's a relief. Tighten that. Tighten. So let's see what it looks like after I tighten it. Okay, that one is apparently already tightened. Alright. Oh, that looks good. Looks like the angle's good as well. So let's continue on to the next one. Do this one by one because you don't want to lose any screws. As you can see up here, we have all 5 fan blades installed. Let me just remove this so that you can see well the next step. And mentioning the next step, we're going to install this light kit right here. Now, the first step in installing the light kit is to remove these 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. Let me just take my screwdriver, remove them, and then you'll see these 2 wire connections that correspond to these 2 wire connections. And you can see they also have the corresponding color. Blue and white, and black and white. I'm assuming white goes to white and blue goes to black. Next step is to remove these safety caps from the Molex connections. Apparently that's what they're called. So right here on the top, you just take this bottom rod and just pull it out, just like that. You can see that the bottom rod also looks similar to these connections. So now that we have both of these taken out, what we're going to do is connect them. Make sure that the black or blue goes to the black or blue up here. This might be a bit hard for you guys to see, but you can see that they have sort of notches that correspond to holes in these caps. So you want to find where the holes are, push it in, and make sure that they're secure. I can't really tell in this light, but hopefully it's going to work out. And then do the same with the white wire. Alright, so now it's hanging freely. And we also have our 3 screws, as you can see, taken out. On to the next step. Oh, so now we just put it up and screw it in. Okay, so this is going to be a bit tricky because we're going to have to stuff this in a bit. Are we? We're just going to stuff this in and put our cap on. Alright, now that we have our cap on, we're going to take our screws, insert them. This might be a bit hard because these screws don't really have much to grip on. So you might have to use a screwdriver, or definitely have to use a screwdriver to twist them in a bit. Alright. That one's in. Now let me put the other 2 on. The next step after you install the light kit is to install the light bulbs. But before we install the light bulbs, let me just show you how we're going to install the glass shade. So first we're going to take out these 2 bottom components. This little ball right here, which is called the finial apparently. Put that through. And the finial plate. Now we're going to take a look at this washer and this rubber washer and this nut right here. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to screw this in entirely as much as we can. And the reason that we're doing this is because this rubber right here protects the glass shade from getting scratched by either this metal right here. And after we screw it in all the way, this nut shouldn't be able to scratch, this nut as well shouldn't be able to scratch the glass shade. So you gotta screw it in all the way. And that looks good to me. And then when you put it on, it shouldn't rub against it. So as you can hear, there is no metal scratching against glass sounds. And this might confuse a few people because on the instructions itself, it says that you put the rubber on first, then you put the glass shade, and then you secure it with the hex nut. But that's how we're doing it. So after you put on the glass shade, then you put this on. Alright, so because the instructions say it, we're going to do it this way, where we put the hex nut on after. But before we do that, we're going to install the light bulbs. And there's a bit of pressure because we're 8 feet above the ground. And if we drop this light bulb, then it's probably going to crack. So it's a lot of pressure on me. So take that, take these light bulbs. Make sure that we install it very carefully. There we go. We're gonna take the other one, install on the other side. Of course, you have to put the light bulbs before the shade. It's on the other side. I just heard plastic. Must be my mistake. Okay, there we go. So now, I'm going to take the glass shade. I'm going to put this down. And you can see on the glass shade, there are 2 holes. Now, one of these is the center hole. I'm pretty sure it's this one. And one of these is for this chain to loop through. So, okay. I don't think it matters the way we do this. Put this. Okay, yeah, we put it behind the light bulb. And then we sort of finagle it way through. So you can see both chains coming out of different holes. Oh, I guess this way too, that the rubber protects the glass shade from rubbing against the metal. Then we take our washer, loop it through, and screw it in. Okay. I guess that does work. Alright. Okay, so this nut is pretty sturdy. I can't move it with my hand. So that tells me that it's good. We're going to take our, apparently it's called a finial plate, and then we're going to loop it around. You can see that this one also has the holes for the chain. Loop it around. And then finally, to secure this, we take this knob right here, loop it through. This one also has a hole on the bottom. There we go. And I guess this kind of makes sense because, as my dad said, if you take off this axial plate, then that nut is going to be holding up the glass shade, so you can take it off separately. And that's how it's installed. Wow, that's pretty cool. Assembly is now complete. This bottom one is for the light, and this one is for the fan. And there's also these little thingies that I have to attach. Okay, we're good. Alright, so now we're going to add these extensions, and you can see they even have these cute little fan and light bulb on them to indicate which light you're pulling. And I'm just going to put them on. You can see that you just try to loop them around the ball that you're attaching them to. And then drag the wire up so that it goes up and over. It's a bit hard to see because you're a bit farther away. But once you have it in like that, just loop that wire around. This was way easier with the light one, I gotta say. Oh, there we go. So that's what it looks like. And now we're going to turn the power on and see if all of our work is not for naught. Alright, so we tested. The fan worked, but the lights did not. So we took apart everything. Or rather, my dad took apart everything. And we tested the motor. As you can see, it's live. We tested the light. Nothing. So if we go to the switch. So we're at the switch right now. And if we put, it's currently at the off state. So if we put the checker on the right side, you can see that it beeps. And if we put it on the left side, there's nothing. And that's supposed to happen because what a switch does is it opens and closes the circuit. So when it's on this side, it should beep. But as you see, it won't. So let's go to my room and see if it works here. I apologize, it's a bit messy. And hopefully I covered up that mess before we looked at it. But right now, it's off. The right side is, as you can see, it's beeping. On the left side, there is no current, even if I finagle it. If you turn it on, there still should be current there, obviously. And then on the left, there is current. So that's how it should be. But as you can see on the left, it doesn't work. That means that we have to replace the switch. And the whole reason that we replaced the fan was because my mom said that, I mean, among other problems, that the light wasn't easy to turn on, or it didn't turn on. So instead of buying a $100 fan, what we could have done was buy a $5 switch replacement. I mean, in the end, it was kind of hard to use the fan beforehand, so I guess it's not too much of a loss, but just figuring that out now is a bit of a conundrum. My dad actually replaced the fan not knowing that the light was broken, because we've never turned that light on for like 5 years. Also, my mom said that apparently I broke the light by switching it on and off too much, but I guess don't switch the light on and off, kiddies, because that's, 1, annoying, and 2, it might break your switch. Who knows? Well, in my mom's defense, my dad probably should have checked the wiring beforehand. I mean, I wouldn't have checked the wiring beforehand because previously I thought it worked. And also, in my mom's defense, it wasn't exactly $100. It was more like 50, 60 because we got it at a 50% discount because, you know, Lowe's was closing. But so I guess maybe it wasn't a total loss. We replaced the switch. If you do end up having a problem with the switch, check out my other video on the switch. We'll be releasing it alongside this one. But for now, let's see if it actually works. So as you can see, when I touch it up to the red and blue wire, which is for the lights, it works. That's pretty cool. Now we have to put everything back on. So, sucks for us. Alright, moment of truth. Okay, first, why don't we do them both at the same time? 3, 2, 1. Hey! That's beautiful. Alright. Oh yeah, there's also the extension thingies, but I think my mom has them, and it's probably a good idea, because if Bella was up here, she'd probably play entangle herself in the thingies, so you probably don't want that yet. So, I'm Aiman, and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on EyeOnAiman, both my YouTube page and my Facebook page. Also, if you do have an issue with the switch, like I was mentioning before, I also have a video on that, so go check it out, and you will see a zombie there. I know you probably didn't see him in this video, but you will see him there. So for now, signing out. Peace.